I have the pleasure now of introducing the Mayor of Greenfield, Roxanne Wiedergardner, who is going to come up here and talk about the recognition of Juneteenth.
You did that well, John. Wiedergardner. Very few people get it right.
I have her T-shirt from the campaign.
Well, that's why it just says Roxanne on it.
Good afternoon, folks. It's really wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to see faces, and I really want to thank the Chamber for the beautiful weather today. That's what they're supposed to do. They've done their job well, so thank you for that. When Keith, my communications director, said Diana would like you to talk about Juneteenth, I stopped for a minute and I thought, all right, sure. I come at it from a different perspective. As a Texas, not a native, my father held that name, but growing up in Texas, I, as close as 50 miles to Galveston, never ever heard of Juneteenth. And it certainly wasn't taught in our Texas history class, which you are, of course, expected to take in the 7th grade. And if you don't take it in the 7th grade, you don't get to graduate from the 12th grade. Now, that's the way it was then. I don't know if they're still doing that. But it's great that we are now celebrating, and actually I'm not sure it's a celebration, but we're celebrating the fact, as far as I'm concerned today, that it is now a national holiday, and that was done very recently. It's one of the few times I think our Congress has come together and done something important, because there's many other holidays probably left out there, many other things that we should be recognizing with holidays. It's a good start for Juneteenth. It was a pleasure for me today, or this week, to be able to recognize it with our city employees and give them the day off. I think I was ahead of everybody else. But just take a few minutes over this weekend to think about Juneteenth and what it meant for Black people across the country back in the 1860s. To find out 2 years later that you've been actually free for 2 years, I can't imagine what that might have been like, but it's good that it happened then. And I just want to make sure that we always continue to acknowledge it in some way. I'm sure that we will, as we go forward in the city, have some programs with greater recognition of that holiday. But thank you.
Diana said, I don't need to be introduced, do I? Ladies and gentlemen, Diana Zinal.
Wowee, that was great. And thank you so much, Mayor and John and everyone. I just want to take a minute to just enjoy this sight before me, which is just makes me so happy. It's so beautiful. You're all here, you're all happy and healthy, no one's on mute. This is just a really great thing. I'm actually going to take a picture. I know Lisa would want a picture from way up here. Okay. So, you know, I usually wrap up my comments with thank yous, but I'm going to start today by thanking two people who have been absolutely amazing this past year. And of course, that's Lisa and Marion. They're both gonna kill me, but that's okay. So Marion absolutely kept the ship afloat with her usual hard work and organization and sunny disposition, and I just don't know what I would have done without her friendship this year. So Marion, thank you. And Lisa just stepped up in amazing ways. From those first few months of managing our website by keeping on top of just the ever-changing information about businesses and how they were operating and various programs that were out there to help businesses. That was a really huge undertaking, and she was just amazing at it. She's now helping to manage this really huge grant that will help support our creative economy while also developing our new Vintage Valley Trail. So Lisa, you knock it out of the park every day, and you just never cease to amaze me, and I thank you. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank both of them. Yeah. Yes.
Hey everybody, it's Natalie Blais. I was wondering if you could help me embarrass my kids. I'm sorry to steal the mic, but they're right over there. So if everybody could all join together and say hello, Shane and Danny, on the count of 3 really, really loud, I would really, really appreciate it. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Hi, Danny and Shane! Thank you so much.
Oh, that was great. You're welcome. Anything for you. I also need to thank and recognize my chair, John Howland, my executive committee, Vice Chair Shelby Snow, Treasurer Bob Gilmore, Michael Tucker, Liz Fisk, Wade Bassett. I've really relied on them a lot this year. As you might imagine, it was not a typical year, and I really appreciate them, as well as my entire board of directors, for their just endless support of the chamber and its members. So a hearty thank you to all of you. So I want to give 2 special welcomes today. We are joined by Susan Samarisky, who was recognized as the 2020 Citizen of the Year by the Greenfield Recorder for her 30 years of dedication to the Mary Lyons Foundation. Susan, congratulations, and thank you for being here today. I also want to give a special recognition to Shannon Prescott, who joins us all the time, but I really wanted to give a special shout out because she's chair of the Franklin County Young Professionals, and I'm happy to report that under her leadership, FCYP has become an official part of the chamber, and we're now offering dual membership. So Shannon, thank you for your vision and welcome to the YPs. So as I thought about what to say after 15 months of not having the opportunity to address all of you, I made a list of what the chamber did during the pandemic to support our members and non-members who needed help. As I read the list, I thought about how that help that folks needed changed over time. But I also realized that most people that would be here today knew all about the things that we did. I thought that what would be most important would be to focus on the collaborations that happened during this pandemic and how we supported each other to get through, because some of those collaborations really blew me away. Mike Knappich mentioned the support that many of our manufacturers gave Bay State Franklin without hesitation, gave up that precious PPE to help our local essential healthcare workers, and that was really just terrific to see, that business is helping businesses. Amy McMahon of Mesa Verde, that stayed open, sold products from Magpie and the People's Pint that didn't stay open. Applied Mortgage gave the chamber a very generous donation that we were able to turn into grants to small businesses to offset the burdensome cost of PPE and sanitizing supplies, signage, and barriers. The FCCOC created a cooperative PPE purchasing program for municipalities, but asked to partner with the chamber so that local businesses could be included in that deal. John Schaefer from Berkshire East founded Goggles for Docs, collecting tens of thousands of goggles and distributing them to medical professionals nationwide for use when PPE was hard to find. There was innovation too, like the partnership of Beat Fog Nozzle and Travel Cuz, who together designed a device that could sanitize the entire inside of a school bus within a few minutes using a generator and a fancy nozzle. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Our local banks stepped up in huge fashion to assist with PPP loans and to assist local businesses in ways we'll probably never fully understand. We all came to appreciate our essential workers, those that were obvious like healthcare professionals, and those that never expected to be at the heart of it, like our favorite grocery store clerk or food service workers. I want to mention one last collaboration that is truly the most important of all. The FCCOC and the City of Greenfield set up vaccination sites and administered over 25,000 vaccinations to Franklin County residents. This community commitment and hard work and dedication and expertise is why we're even allowed to be here today. So Linda and Mayor Roxanne, a million thanks to you and your amazing staff for meeting that challenge. And how cool is it that Treehouse Brewing, not even open for business here yet, opened their doors for us and offered their perfect location as a vaccination site. We're joined by Dean from Treehouse. Thank you. So today is about looking ahead, not back. It's about focusing on the silver linings and the new beginnings. The Franklin County CDC convened the Welcoming and Belonging group during this pandemic and hired Tracy Talbert as our racial justice community engagement leader. Under Tracy's fabulous direction, this group includes folks from various sectors to examine matters of racial justice and equity, and I'm really proud to be part of that. You know that we usually welcome new members at each of these meetings, and we're not doing that today. Not because we don't have any, but because we have so many, we've decided to dedicate our October program to welcoming new members, so watch for that. I've actually been completely amazed by the number of new members and new businesses that opened during the uncertainty of the pandemic, including Plum Boutique, Alchemy of Avalon, Parker on Main, Stay Wild, Adams Donuts, Adventure East, and of course, as I said, we will be welcoming Treehouse Brewing to the Franklin County family. Due to COVID, we had to close our visitor center, which was located at the Greenfield RMV. But we will use this as an opportunity to create a new and improved VIC, so stay tuned for details on that. We're aggressively focusing on tourism by publishing a new guidebook and releasing 2 new tourism videos, one all about all of the great tourism assets in Franklin County, and one about fly fishing on the Deerfield River. So a big thank you to the Deerfield chapter of Trout Unlimited for their inspiration and assistance with this. We're joined by them today. Thank you. I mentioned Lisa's work creating the Vintage Valley Trail. This will be a fun website dedicated to all the funky and unique vintage retailers here in Franklin County. It already looks great. It's really fun. So there's a legendary football coach from Northampton, where my boys played football, who had a saying, "Tough times don't last, tough people do." I think we all learned what we were made of this year. Those that got stronger helped those that were struggling. We're coming out of this, and we're back, and we're charting a brighter, stronger, and healthier future, and I just couldn't be happier. And I'm also happy that we don't have to use toilet paper as a door prize today, so. Thank you very much. So I am now going to turn it over to, it's your turn, Linda, right? Linda Dunleavy from my executive committee to present the slate.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you all. Remember when I was chair forever and always had a trivia question? Thank you, Russ, that it was forever, wasn't it? It did seem like it. So here's my trivia question for the day. How great is it to be here today? Is it A, great, B, so great, or C, really, really great? Thank you, Regina. That is the correct answer. There are no prizes. So my job today is to announce the slate. If you could open the program to the middle page, because I do not want to read this entire slate. I do want to say thank you to Bruce Lessels. Bruce Lessels is our retiring board member. He was a board member for a long time, even longer than I was the chair, Russ. Really long time, and we will miss Bruce, but very pleased that Berkshire East has found a replacement for Bruce for the board. So, you guys, if you could read this, this is the slate to present to you, and I would take a motion to accept the slate from Liz Fisk. Thank you, fellow nominating committee member Liz Fisk. Second from anyone? Thank you. Okay, everyone in favor of this? Yay. Thank you, my job is done. Nice to see you all.
So, the main event, what everyone is here for, the chance to really thank our legislators and give them a few minutes to speak about what they've been up to, which, as we all know, has been just unbelievable. So I'm going to start by introducing John Gould from Senator Hinds' office. We're glad to have you here, John. Senator Hinds is staying in his baby bubble with his newborn, which we think is a really great place for him right now. So, John, welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Gould. I am the Hilltown Community Liaison for Senator Adam Hinds, who is now in about his 5th year as the state senator for Berkshire, Franklin, Hampshire, and Hampden County. He has 52 towns, a couple cities in there. And as Diana said, he and his wife, Alicia, are the new parents of a new baby, and they had him on May 27th, and his name is Raphael Hinds, and he came about a month early, but things are going very well for the senator and Alicia and for Rafa, so he extends his best to you all here, and as Diana said, he's got his hands busy with a newborn. I love coming to these events. One of the ones I remember from a couple years ago was at the Eaglebrook School, and I think it was one of the, it was the museum, the Pecumtuck Museum curator who was talking about a new show at the museum around the Hitchcocks, Aura, and I can't remember Mr. Hitchcock's first name, but after that event, I went to that show and I learned so much about dinosaurs and natural history and our area, so it's always great to come to these events. I just wanted to highlight 4 things that Senator Hinds has been working on along with our team. So the first time I saw the senator in more than a year was back in March when he came to Shelburne Falls to announce the awarding of $100,000 that he secured as part of the late FY21 state budget, and that money was combined with $30,000 from Mass Development and $15,000 from the Community Foundation of Massachusetts, of Western Mass, and those funds were given out in grants to farmers, artists, nonprofits, and businesses who had been impacted by COVID-19, and those entities were in Shelburne, Ashfield, Buckland, Rowe, Charlemont, Conway, and the administrative team that helped figure out how to run that program included Amy Shapiro, Whit Sanford, Bruce Lessels, and Jessica Atwood. So that is one thing that he's been focusing on. Our team has also been focused on participating in meetings that are looking at the short-term solutions and long-term solutions for how people relate to the Deerfield River. There's so much interest in outdoor recreation along the river, and last year was, I think, a record year for the number of visitors, or very close. And so thanks to the leadership of Linda Dunleavy from FCCOC and Jessica Atwood, there is planning underway, both for this summer, how to make things better for the residents who live along the river, near the river, for the business owners, for other townspeople, for people who care, deeply about the ecology of the river. So that type of planning is going on. In the FY22 budget, which is now in conference, Senator Hinds added an amendment that would provide $100,000 for a study of the longer-term ways to improve access to the river and work on all of those issues that I mentioned. So we're hopeful that that makes it through conference. Two other things that I wanted to mention. Another thing that the senator has been working on since 2017 when he took office is improving access to broadband, and the towns, especially the smaller towns in Senator Hinds' district, many of them have not had broadband and are working towards it, and the senator has been leading with other members of the delegation on that. And it's amazing what a investment our towns have made to bring broadband to our region, something that hasn't had to happen for people in other parts of the state. Bill Ennin, who is one of the people who has been leading this effort in the state, has given us figures that between the towns and the state, about $66 million has been spent to bring broadband to the so-called last mile towns, and I think about 2/3 of that has come from the towns themselves. So an extraordinary investment when our towns have so much to spend on with often not enough money in their with strains on taxpayers. One recent initiative that he put in this most recent budget, which is now being negotiated, is to do something that the governor also asked for, which was to put the oversight of broadband under the Department of Telecommunications and Cable. And the sense is that under DTC, there would be a real deep look into what communities have broadband, which ones don't, what are the the qualities and the how good is internet in different parts of the state. And so Senator Hinds has been working with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers and the DTC on this, and so we hope that goes through. And finally, I also wanted to highlight the fact that many businesses across the state have gotten PPP loans, and if that money is spent according to the guidelines, the federal government will not collect on those loans. And as part of state law, those loans were subject to taxation. And last year, the legislature worked to make it so that those would be non-taxable. And the senator and our team are working to make sure that loans that are forgiven in 2021 will also be not subject to taxation. So I just want to close in saying that the senator and our team are always happy to engage, and look forward to continuing conversations about these and many other things. So thank you for this event.
Thank you so much, John. So our next legislator really doesn't need an introduction. It's my predecessor, Natalie, whose shoes I'm still trying to fill. But Natalie, we're so glad to have you here, and I want to specifically recognize Natalie's endless support on behalf of tourism, which we know is a really important sector here in Franklin County, and she's just been an absolute champion for it. So, Natalie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for helping to embarrass my children. That was spectacular. I really appreciate all your help in doing that. So I am Natalie Blais. I used to stand up here, and it's good to be here with you all. I want to, as great as it is to be together, I just want to take a minute and recognize the loss and the heartache that many of us have felt over the last 15 months during the COVID-19 pandemic. It is really wonderful to be together again, but it has been a really tough time over the last year, and I just recognize that many people in the room may be feeling that sense of loss, and just give some space to recognize that that has been a real challenge for many of us. With that being said, as so many people here have said today, it is wonderful to see all of your faces and be here together at this beautiful space. I don't know if Shelby's still here. Shelby, are you back there? This is incredible. What you have done with this space is really incredible. And I just want to thank you for welcoming us all here on such a beautiful day. And thank you, Diana, for that warm welcome. It's nice to see your face as well. The Chamber has come together and brought people together, not only today, but over the last 15 months, and really supported our communities in ways that we never could have imagined, much like many of you have. And I want to thank you all for being there for one another, because that's, I think, what we do really well here in Franklin County, and certainly in Western Massachusetts, is that when someone's in need, we show up for each other. That doesn't happen everywhere in the Commonwealth, and I just want to recognize that and hold that up as a strength that we have here in Franklin County and Western Massachusetts, and thank you all for everything that you did during COVID-19 to support one another. It's been an interesting first term for me, rolling into my second term here. I had lunch with Steve Kulik the other day. He sends his regards. I am now serving as Vice Chair of the Joint Committee on Children, Families, and Persons with Disabilities. I am a member of the Ways and Means Committee, the Transportation Committee, and also Tourism, Arts, and Culture. Today I wanted to just take a minute to talk about my work on Ways and Means and Tourism, Arts, and Culture, because I think with all the businesses that we have in the room and the economy that is so strong here as a result of tourism, arts, and culture, I know it's close to your hearts. So the legislature is sort of in a little tiff with the governor right now. I'll just throw that out there, that we have $5.3 billion coming to the Commonwealth in federal funds. And the legislature has introduced legislation that would allow us to make sure that we have a say in how those dollars are allocated. Because we believe that being here on the ground, knowing the strengths of our communities, that we should have a say in how those dollars are spent. And it's important for you to have a say in how those dollars are spent. So I suspect next week we will be considering legislation that will mandate that we, the legislature, do have a say, that you have a say in how those dollars are spent. We're extremely glad that the federal government has come through with a significant investment, because Lord knows we need it. But we do need to make sure that there's a public process and that your voices are heard. So that should be coming next week. The other thing that is good news is that the Department of Revenue collected more than twice as much money from taxpayers than it had anticipated. DOR, the Department of Revenue, announced that it has collected $4 billion in taxes from people and businesses in May. That is $2.26 billion, or 130.3% more than was collected in May 2020. And that's $2.1 billion, or 111% more than we estimated that we would collect for the month. So that's good news. It's been really hard as a legislature trying to to deal with the budget, because we really didn't know what was happening from one month to the next with COVID. But these numbers are welcome numbers, and it shows a strong economy. I think for us here in Western Massachusetts, we just have to make sure that some of it's coming our way. And thankfully, we have a strong delegation that's working really hard together to identify the ways that we can direct those funds that will really make an impact. And one of those ways is through tourism, arts, and culture. It is an incredibly strong factor in our regional and local economy, and we should be doing everything that we can to be identifying. Pick a table. Each one of our tables here have someone sitting at it who is associated with tourism, arts, and culture. It drives our local economy, and we have to make sure that we are supporting that part of our local economy going forward. So I have sponsored a bill that would begin to look at how we would spend those dollars and make sure that they are going to our rural communities. There are two other commissions that I'm serving on that I just wanted to bring to your attention. One is I've been named the chair of a commission that will begin to look at low and declining enrollment in our schools. I'm very happy to chair that commission with Senator Adam Hinds. I'm thrilled to have worked with Senator Comerford to get this legislation into the Student Opportunity Act, because we know that our rural schools are struggling, and we have to identify what those challenges are and how the Commonwealth is going to address them, because it impacts every part of our lives, every part of our communities. And the other commission that I've been named to, it looks at the digital divide. What COVID showed us is that the digital divide impacts rural communities, certainly, we know that, but we've also seen that it is impacting urban communities. So I'm really looking forward to that work there. And with that, I am going to say goodbye and thank you, and it is great to see you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Natalie. So, of course, now I'm so honored to introduce my good friend for so many years. I'm so proud of what she does, Senator Comerford. I just want to say, though, I want to give a shout out because Senator Comerford was able to secure an earmark for the chamber that we were able to get out to certain businesses that really needed the help. We met about the businesses we wanted to support, and we identified childcare, lodging, media, some really key retail, and of course arts and culture venues, and we were able to do that because of her hard work, and so I thank you so much, Senator Comerford.
Oh, it is a lovely experience getting up and getting to look out at this beautiful gathering. So Diana, thank you. What Diana didn't say is that it would absolutely not have been possible to do the work we did without Diana's leadership. And Diana stepped up again in this last budget cycle when the dollar figure wasn't as important as the single place of origin for the money because of all of the legislative logistics. And I called Diana when she was, I think, in the car with Linda and said, hey, can we pass through some money quickly to get to some cultural institutions? And Diana did not hesitate for a millisecond and said, sure, yeah, just tell me what I need to do. So that's what I hear from Diana when I call. Just tell me what I need to do. Tell me how we can be maximally in partnership to really, as Natalie said, I think beautifully, bring home resources here to Western Massachusetts to support your efforts. I want to say thank you to Diana, thank you to the Chamber, of course, John, of course, Linda Dunleavy, who is the foundation for all of the work, a lot of the work, I could actually say all, Linda, in Franklin County that I get to do. So I represent so happily the Hampshire-Franklin-Worcester district. The majority of towns are in Franklin County. And it has been no end of joy to do this for now. I'm in my second session. I want to say that I'm also overjoyed that the federal government is recognizing Juneteenth. We did it first in Massachusetts. We recognized Juneteenth as a state holiday in the middle of the racial justice uprising. We moved very quickly, but we didn't move very quickly only on our own. We moved very quickly because people like you, people in this room, told us we had to. And that's the first thing I want to touch on, is that whatever we do, and I can't say how overjoyed I am to work with this unbelievable delegation, but what we do is because you tell us to do it. You tell us it's important, and you help focus our efforts. That's how the legislature works best. And the second way we work best is in partnership. So Senator Hinds, Representative Blais, the Franklin County delegation, boy, we lock arms all the time. We are low ego, high output. We are partners with each other's work, and I couldn't be more honored to see the kind of work that's coming out of the offices that you hear from today, and they're really tireless teams. So as you all know, we're talking about now working for businesses, working for the regional economy. We also, I just want to make sure that I touch on this, we also work for your people. We do, all of us, value constituent services considerably. And I want you to remember that when your people are in need, they should come to us quickly, and we can intervene quickly on their behalf. It's our job to bend state government to work in the best interest of all people. Now I'll segue into my work in the legislature. Right now I'm really proud to serve as the Senate Chair of the Joint Committee on Public Health, the Senate Chair of a new committee. It's COVID-19 and Emergency Preparedness. So it's a new joint committee. I also am the Vice Chair of Higher Education. Of course, I gotta hold it down for Greenfield Community College and the University of Massachusetts, our flagship, and so many important institutions in the region that not only drive our knowledge economy, but drive our economic economy here in the Valley. And I also serve on a number of other committees for the legislature. When COVID hit, the Senate President asked if I would convene, so I did an oversight committee hearing on COVID. Now it seems like 400 years ago, but it wasn't. It was March 5th. Just before we really understood the enormity of what we would be facing. We saw it coming, and so we galvanized an oversight hearing for the legislature to make sure that we were thinking about the impact on our health sector, on our economy, on our people. And the Senate President asked if I would oversee the Senate's work, the Senate's response work for COVID. I thought, wow, I'm first-term senator, but yes, let's do it. And I will say that the Western Mass delegation in that Senate work was at the center of the work. We have a fine Western Mass Senate delegation that represents the 4 Western counties. And we worked on everything that you can imagine, from unemployment insurance to the PPE, as John said well, the PPE loan to now the uptick in unemployment insurance rates, to everything, including outdoor dining, and numbers of pieces of legislation that had to go through during COVID and then be extended during COVID. And that's, of course, our job. Our job is to respond to the needs of communities. And I was proud to do that, and now proud to chair this new joint committee that is looking at not only what we have to do right now, like extend the state of emergency provisions that were so critical. We were a little late getting that done, but we're critical to making sure that we can continue to run our municipal governments and continue to honor the work of the small businesses in our midst, but what we have to do to build back better, stronger, more equitably. And so that's the work of that committee. We had a hearing recently in Western Massachusetts where frontline providers talked to us about the kind of attention that needs to be paid to our emergency response in our healthcare sector to make sure that we have the resources necessary to go forward stronger. So that next time we face another contagion, and there will be, or another natural disaster, and there will be, that we have the backs of our small communities. And so I'm excited about that. We're due to release recommendations probably late fall of the coming year, and I hope that they will be actionable recommendations and makes communities like Franklin County stronger as a result. And in terms of public health, the Public Health Committee is really looking at local public health. These are our heroes in our midst, along with frontline healthcare providers. These are the folks like we celebrated. Phoebe Walker at Franklin Regional Council of Governments teaming up with the Greenfield Public Health Department to really, really bring what was one of the most inspirational things I've ever seen into being. Largely volunteer-driven, highly effective, highly accessible vaccine clinics across Western Massachusetts, including, thank you, Treehouse, and Treehouse's parking lot. We do it like nobody else does it in the Commonwealth. We rely on our people, on our volunteers, on our smarts. We're generous, and we get it done. And we get it done against all odds, frankly. And we don't get it done in the form of a high-priced, pretty ineffective mass vac site. We get it done with the grit and determination of the people of Franklin County. So the Public Health Committee is looking at strengthening our local public health, which now we see as visible, like we've really never seen it before. We see it as visible, and now we have to make sure that local communities have the kind of resources they need and deserve to be able to have public health operations that have minimum public health standards and that can safeguard us and hit the streets the next time we face such an emergency. So those are two of the things I'm thinking about. My team and I are also really working on what it's going to take to reopen and continue to reimagine what our Commonwealth looks like after COVID. And we're particularly focused on strengthening the public higher education sector with a fairly large infusion of funds if we have our way. Also K-12 education, I'm delighted for Rep. Blais' leadership on the low and declining enrollment schools commission along with Senator Hinds. That's completely necessary. We should all also be looking at our school buildings, and the Public Health Committee has a hearing on building health on Tuesday, actually, to really look at what it's going to take for the Commonwealth to use some of that federal money coming in to make schools in our local communities safer and healthier for our educators and for our students. There's a lot more I want to share, but I'll stop here with just, again, my sincere thanks for all you do. I can't imagine how hard it was during COVID for all of you to do the jobs you did, and you did them with grace and grit and goodwill. And I'm just so honored to be with you as we build back better. Thanks.
And that is why I always shamelessly brag about our legislative delegation. Thank you so much.